The Pit Press Podcast.
Reinholz launches from downtown. No. Van Horn, no. And that's it. New Mexico wins it.
Kenny Thomas blocks. Gibson hustling down. He has some room. And he gets it. Oh, long three. He got it.
Oh, my goodness. Kendall Williams from 35 feet. For the win. Snell. Got it. He got it. Wow. With 1.8 seconds remaining.
Welcome back to another episode of the Pit Press Podcast. My name is Ryan Tomari. I don't think I'm going to start off, Ed, by calling our next guest anybody from the 1989-1990 Detroit Pistons, like I did last night. Going crazy. As always, I'm joined by a Lobo fan since 1970 and the voice of the Western New Mexico Mustangs, Mr. Ed Nunez. Senor, how are you doing?
Doing great, Ryan. Looking forward to our guest and talking to Coach Bunker.
This is right up your alley. So happy to have him on, and we're keeping that train rolling, steaming forward with all things Nuevo Mexico basketball. He enters his first season as the head men's basketball coach at Western New Mexico. He heads to Silver City after serving as the head coach at Scottsdale Community College. The Artichokes, I love that.
Fighting Artichokes.
Fighting Artichokes, that's right. A position he held since 2014. While at Scottsdale Community College, our next guest would take the Fighting Artichokes. It's like the Rebels or the Running Rebels. You got to call the basketball team the Running Rebels. To back-to-back Region 1 Division 2 championships in 2022, 2023, and that was for the first time in school history. That would be the Artichokes' third trip in 4 years and the sixth in school history. He would lead the Fighting Artichokes, to become ACC regular season conference champions twice in 2020 and 2022. He averaged 21 wins per season since 2015. I don't care what level that is. That's damn good. His name is Mark Bunker. Coach, how are you doing tonight? And thank you for joining us, and congrats on the new gig.
Hey, no, thank you guys. Doing really well. Very excited because it's kind of the eve of the eve before our first game. We go on our first road trip tomorrow, so definitely chomping at the bit to kind of get at it. And, I really appreciate you guys having me on.
I'm sure your players are tired of beating the crap out of each other.
It's one of those things that we were on practice on Monday and almost told our staff, because we had a guy tweak an ankle. He'll be fine. Another guy kind of landed kind of funny. I'm like, all right, we just got to stop. Like, let's just cut this thing short and let's just get to Friday, because it's one of those things. The guys are so used to each other with different personnel, with things like that it's like they just want to go hit somebody else. I mean, that's part of it.
I think just about every coach during like not a spring training, but a training camp understands that. This is more of a joke because my terrible Bill Murray, Peter Venkman from Ghostbusters sense of humor. I understand you left a community college to go to Division II. You move your way up, but man, you're going from Scottsdale to Silver City, New Mexico.
Oh, yeah.
Why did you make that choice?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I've been asked that several times.
I'm sorry.
Hey, our campus president, Dr. Shepard asked me that. He's like, why us? Because this is a big difference. And, I've gotten the opportunity to kind of know Zayden Gibson for the last couple of years and his Western New Mexico team. I knew Matt Enriquez when he was a coach at Western New Mexico, and always kind of kept tabs. I mean, Western was always the closest Division II to us. Once Grand Canyon bumped up, there aren't a lot of Division IIs in the area. I mean, there's obviously the ones in California, but in the Southwest, there just aren't that many options. So when this opportunity came about and talked to Matt and Scott Noble, I had to jump on it and kind of go all in with the interview process. And, obviously Silver City's a lot different than Scottsdale. It ain't the same from that side, but my family's really adjusted well. If anyone's ever been to, the Flagstaff area in Arizona or the Prescott area in Arizona, it reminds me a lot of that. It's a nice little mountain town. So I've definitely enjoyed that for sure.
We're going to try to do this as quickly as possible because your Arizona State Sun Devils take on the Mississippi State Bulldogs here in a second. Chris Jans, that's a New Mexico tie. Now the Mississippi State head coach. Just very quickly, have you watched any of their exhibition games this year? not Mississippi State, Arizona State. And what do you think of the job? Obviously, a tournament team last year. What do you think of the job that Bobby Hurley has done at ASU?
I think he's made us a consistent tournament team, which Herb Sendick kind of got us there. And the guy I played for, Rob Evans, got us there, the one time. And it's one of those deals where I think I'm ready to kind of turn a corner with them of, hey, we keep getting to the first 4 games. We keep getting to the first round. Can we get to the second weekend? So I'm not saying he's on the hot seat by any means, but, I think he'd probably say the same thing of, like, we keep bringing in all this talent. Let's kind of turn a corner here. So hopefully they do that this year.
He's a Jersey City guy, so he's my kind of guy. And then this show, my parents grew up. How many ways can I tie every episode into New Jersey? Is my dad got his master's degree at Record, and then also got his undergrad at Fairleigh Dickinson, and the diploma degree is still hanging in here. But I thought that Rutgers should have gotten over Nevada last year, and Arizona State steamrolled them. That's not here nor there. Yeah. What do you know about the love of the game of basketball that transcends here in New Mexico?
I think it's all levels. Whether it's an NAI, whether it's Division II, whether it's the Division Ones. I mean, every single level is successful. New Mexico State's obviously had its runs for the last couple of years. Patino over at New Mexico is turning a corner. Obviously, Alford before him had a great run. So it's one of those things where without the major sports franchises, the universities are it. The high schools are it. The Friday Night Lights are it. So I think that side of it in the community, just in Silver City, has been so much more supportive of me and excited for our program, excited for our team, that I didn't know what to expect before I got here. It's like, wow, these people, 1, love their basketball, and 2, know their basketball. So you're not going to pull a fast one on them about, hey, we're just trying to get out there and win some games. No, they want to know how you're going to do it. They want to know, hey, what's your plan? So that's the thing that I'm excited about as well, is like having a community in Silver, having, the local area, in kind of the southwestern part of the state, in Grant County, really supporting us. So that's actually a pretty cool deal for us.
I like that answer. You had great success at Scottsdale Community College. I love that, Fighting Artichokes. Since 2018, your team's averaged 20 wins per season. How do you think that experience helps you as the new head coach at Western New Mexico?
Obviously every level's different, and every time you get to another level, it gets even harder. I think the experience that I had at Scottsdale is that we didn't start out, I didn't take over a national powerhouse junior college program. I took over a program that had never been to the national tournament, that had rarely been nationally ranked in the last about 20, 25 years. And it's one of those things that it took time to build, but I learned from a lot of mistakes that I made early, learned from a lot of things that worked early, and slowly built it into something that every year we were nationally ranked. Every year we were contending for conference and region championships. Every year we're, knocking on the door of national championships. That I think if we can take that same idea, take that same blueprints at the junior college level, hopefully we can build it into something at Western New Mexico. Everyone thinks, oh, Scottsdale Community College, you guys got all the money. You guys got all the facilities. And it wasn't true. We had very few scholarships. We didn't have any dorms. We didn't have any meal plans. And we're competing against teams that do have that. So what our staff was able to do there and win consistently and win year by year and do things that, frankly, the program had never done before, I have some confidence that we can try to do that again at Western. Because, sure, there's teams in our Lone Star Conference that are a beast. There's teams in that South Central region, in the RMAC that are a beast. But end of the day, I'm used to kind of being the team that's kind of last of the bowl. The team that has the lower resources, that doesn't make any difference to me. I'm there to compete.
You have kind of touched on this question, and maybe it's wanting to, the sense I get from those answers, you're embracing a challenge, but what was appealing to the Western New Mexico job? Essentially, why did you take it?
I think it was Scott Noble. I think it was Matt Enriquez, and it was also Zane Gibson. Zane talked the job up a lot. Zane told me, he's like, hey, is it a tough job? Yes. Every job is a tough job, but the resources are there. The scholarships are there. The facilities are there. The support is there. The first thing that, our athletic director, Scott Noble, told me is like, Mark, my number one job is to support you. Find any which way to support you. What you ask me what you need, I will never tell you no. I might tell you, hey, it might take some time. I'll see what I can do, but I will never tell you no. And that's, I think, from a coaching perspective, having your administration got your back, the community's got your back, the other coaches on campus got your back. That I'm not saying I didn't have that at Scottsdale, but it just seemed like, hey, this is all lined up for something great. And that's the kind of way I looked at it.
Coach, you did quite a bit at Scottsdale. And you mentioned no meal plans, no scholarships, and you still had a lot of success. I could see why Scott Noble and Dr. Shepard were very high on you. You mentioned Rob Evans. It's funny, the former Hobbs great was a finalist here for the New Mexico job many years ago on the finalist list, almost got hired, and then something happened at the end. A lot of people were very excited about Coach Evans maybe coming here, was just inducted in the New Mexico Sports Hall of Fame during the COVID year, and he couldn't make it. He was going to come down, and he made a speech. I was the MC of that banquet. But Coach Evans, a great man. Yes. Coach, I got to ask you this: the season openers Friday against Westminster. Last year, heck of a game up at Silver City against Westminster. We were down. We came back in the second half to beat them. This is a brand new Mustang. Turned it all over. You turned the whole roster over. You mentioned Coach Gibson, who had a 17-11 record last year. A heck of a guy. I love Zane. Zane and I got to be very good friends in our time. A lot of interviews, a lot of talking. I'm a basketball guy. But I guess you mentioned your team is anxious to play somebody else. What's the prospects for Friday's game? And you've got another turnaround on Saturday, I believe, right? You play Adams State.
Yeah, right. The very next day. Yeah.
So going into this, you got a whole new roster, a bunch of good players. Well, we think. Well, what are you thinking about the first game against Westminster? What are you expecting?
I think we're as prepared as we can be. I mean, this last kind of week and a half of practice has been gone really well. The scouts gone really well, but at the same time, they haven't really played a lot of games either. They don't have a lot of exhibitions either. So it's one of those things that they're a little unknown. Obviously, we're extraordinarily unknown with 14 new guys, new coach, new everything. So I think we can take advantage of that. The funny thing is, Norm Parrish, the head coach over there, used to be a heck of a coach over at Salt Lake Community College. So it's an ex-JUCO guy going against an ex-JUCO guy. That I think it's going to be one of those things that, hopefully we can compete right off the bat. Part of the thing is the junior college guys and the transfers and the high school guys that I brought in, I would tell you to go up and down the list. Every single one of them has had success at their previous schools. The guys from Niagara Community College, a couple of them won 60 to 70 games in their 2 seasons at Niagara Community College. Or the guys from Arizona Western won 60 games at Arizona Western. Or, Chandler Gilbert won 20-plus games every season. That every single guy that we have has won before. They know what it takes to win. Do they know what it takes to win at this level? Not yet. But I have confidence that bringing in really good players that have been in great locker rooms, that have played for great coaches, I think hopefully we can piece everything together so we can come together as a unit. Can I tell you who I know is going to be our leading scorer? Not sure. Do I know who's going to be our leading rebounder? Not sure. But I think we have a pretty good idea of, who these guys are, why we recruited them. I don't think we made any quote unquote mistakes on any guys. So I think we're in pretty good shape coming into Friday.
That's good to hear. It's a young season. Chemistry has to be developed. These are new guys playing together and learning your system. It might take a while, but I like what you've said so far. We asked New Mexico Highlands head coach Mike Dominguez about the challenges in playing the RMAC, and I'm going to ask you the same thing. When I already know the answer to this, but I think a lot of people that don't know would want to know how big of a challenge is it coaching in the Lone Star Conference. You and I just had a brief talk in Silver City one time, just a very brief talk, but tell everybody how big of a challenge it is to coach in the Lone Star Conference.
I mean, I think you can just know that every single game is tough. There's no cakewalk games. There's no, hey, you can just circle this one. That's a win no matter what. There aren't any easy games. There aren't any, hey, we just got to show up games. The league itself is an incredible league. You know, the facilities are great. The atmospheres are great. The coaching is great. I mean, West Texas A&M is in the Final Four every other year. They're top 5 every year. Angelo State, no matter who they bring in as a coach, they seem to have success there. You know, Lubbock Christian, St. Edwards. I mean, teams over and over and over again are nationally ranked, contending for national championships. Shoot, I know you guys know this, but I mean, you look at the teams in the past decade, teams that turn D1, they come out of the Lone Star. It's, you know, Texas A&M Commerce and Tarleton and Incarnate Word. It's just every other year there's another team turning D1. Well, it's because they're ready to turn D1. They can compete right away. It's because they have the resources, they have the coaches, they have the players, the talent. So, and that's what you can expect every single night, that this is a quote unquote Division I league because of how talented every team is.
Very talented. I've seen that. This is my 4th year as the voice at Western. It would have been 5, but COVID cut 1 year short. You know, I got to reword this question a little bit. Your first year at Western New Mexico, when you mentioned Dr. Joseph Shepard, an outstanding man. We saw him there about a couple weeks ago at the volleyball game. And, you know, when you see him, we've seen him on the plane going back and forth, the plane that we take to Albuquerque. And just a you know, very classy man. When you know, he talks, you listen. He's a very nice man. He's always complimenting us on our broadcast. But I've got to ask you about, you know, when you met Coach Noble. I call him Coach. He's a former defense. I have the utmost respect for Coach Noble. Very, 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 you know, much respect for him. What was your reaction? You mentioned. I guess what I'm asking, when you met him, what was the influence of you coming to Silver City when you met him? Because you mentioned, he said, "I'm here to support you." He does expect to win. I know that about him for sure. You know, I know him well enough and working with him. He does expect that. But what was your impression of him when you first met him? And you mentioned the support he's already given you, but he'd had to have influenced you as well as Dr. Shepard did in order for you to move from Scottsdale to Silver City.
Well, I think one of the things that he did is he spoke his vision of the athletic department to me. Obviously, Dr. Shepard gave me a broader vision of the university itself and the vision of what we're trying to do and what we've already accomplished as an athletic department. The amount of money we've fundraised, the amount of money we keep bringing in, the upgrades in the facilities, the upgrades in coaches' salaries, the upgrades in adding staff members, adding scholarships to meet the levels of everyone else in the Lone Star. That sold me. He always talks about a story of when he was recruited to come to Western New Mexico of, hey, I don't know if I should take that job. They never win. And it's one of those deals that he came in I think 2018 and has made significant changes, significant impacts on every sport. That to me, I always knew Western New Mexico the same thing of like, oh, they're a doormat program. They don't get support. I don't even know if they have dorms out there. I don't even know if they give out scholarships. That before I got there, that was my impression. Talking to Scott, talking to Matt Enriquez, talking to Dr. Shepard, they sold me. They flat out did. They recruited me, you know, and like you said, Coach Noble, he was a heck of a football coach. He recruited me and he sold me the dream of Western New Mexico and what he wanted to do. So I think that influenced my decision tremendously of having that type of leadership in front of me that, like I already said, like he just wants to support us. And absolutely that he is going to support us so much that it's because he does want to win. He does want to compete. He doesn't want to he flat out told me in the interview process. I said, what's your expectation? He's like, we're not going backwards. You know, Zane had a great year. He did. One of the better years in the last 25 years. He's like, Mark, we're not going backwards. He's like, my expectations for you to take it to another level. Does that put pressure on me? Sure it does. But I wouldn't want it any other way. Why would I want to athletic director is like, you know, just have a good time out there, go win some games if you can, but if you don't, it doesn't make that big a difference. No, I understand the pressure that he's putting on me, and it's a good kind of pressure. And I think that's across the department. So, because he backs it up, he really does. I mean, he brings in a lot for this department. So definitely excited to try to prove him right, by bringing me in.
He's changed a lot of culture there, and you got a new softball field over there, and it's state of the art. That's going to help recruiting. There's no question about that. You mentioned that he wants to win. There's no doubt about it. He's got expectations. I love that about him. And as a former defensive coordinator football at Fort Hays, he mentioned that to me. He had to recruit new guys, and it can't be all nice and nice and hey, pat on the back. He wasn't that guy. Yeah, I know that, and we laughed about it when he picks us up at the airport. That's my 20 when he does. That's my 20 minutes to get in about what's going on. Boom, boom.
Oh, yeah.
I got about 30 questions for him. And he answers all of them, because that's my time to say what's going on with Mustang athletics. Coach, you mentioned to me Western's going to be playing kind of an exciting, I think, up-tempo kind of basketball. Can you elaborate without, giving away your X's and O's? We wouldn't want that. But tell us a little bit about the up-tempo style you plan to play.
So the time that I spent in junior college, we ran a system that was consistently top 10 in the country in scoring, top 10 in the country in pace, top 10 in the country in transitions. That my mentality, specifically in the Lone Star Conference, is, I think we talked about this, you be better or be different. A lot of the teams in the Lone Star, if West Texas and Angelo, they might be just go get every single D1 kickback, every single great high school kid, and maybe have more talent than some of the other teams in the conference. So they can just flat out be better. Well, if I can't do that, I'm trying to bring in the most talented kids I can. First-year program, first-year coach. Some people are going to have questions like, I don't know if I want to go there. Well, let's be different then. Most of the Lone Star wants to walk it up, pound it inside. Pace of play is a lot slower than what I'm traditionally used to. So I'm going to be different. I'm going to try to push the ball. I'm going to try to get out in transition. I'm going to try to make teams run with us. That I'm going to take advantage of this elevation that we have in Silver. That let's try to run teams out of the gym. Let's try to use that as a home court advantage. So that's the way that I see it offensively and defensively, that we're not going to take any breaks on either side. Is that hard to do? Yeah, it is. It also causes us to go a little bit deeper in the bench. But I think it's a fun way to play. The guys that I've coached in the past and the guys that are currently on the team seem to enjoy that style of play. Fans seem to enjoy it because it's an entertaining brand of basketball. So that's what we're going to try to do. Push the tempo, push the pace, attack, and attack some more.
I'll tell you what, I'm looking forward to that. It's something different. You mentioned that. But I think, the fans, I remember we beat Eastern New Mexico last year. And the gym, that's the most full I've seen it in my time is the voice there. That was a very exciting, very physical game. Yeah. Very physical. So we were looking forward to that. You have an Albuquerque freshman from Del Norte, Judah Casals, who was part of the state championship team here with Del Norte as a junior. Then he played for ABC Prep as a senior. What can you tell us about his development? He's only a freshman. I saw him there a couple of times. I think we talked for about 30 minutes about 2 months ago. I covered some of his games here in Albuquerque. We think the world of him. He's a freshman. He's got a long way to go. What can you tell us about his development?
Wonderful kid, good athlete, shows up 6 a.m. workouts, gets extra shots up after practice. He's a kid that knows that he's a freshman, but doesn't want to play like traditional freshmen do. That he has a plan. A lot of guys come in at 17, 18, 19 years old, and they think they're just going to walk in and just play right away. I think maybe he thought that. I don't know, because he's putting in extra time right off the bat. And that's definitely impressed me, that it shows that he's played for strong high school programs. It shows, for Mason over at ABC Prep, that he's played for a great prep school coach as well, that he knows, like, hey, I got to take this thing to another level. Where I was just fine. Now I got to take it to another level. So he's been putting in work. He's been great off the court. Like, that's one thing that I will say, that a lot of our guys have just been really, really good kids off the court. That, I don't want to knock junior college, because a lot of people pick on junior college, but I don't really have that many off the court issues like I did in the junior college side. That I have a lot more well-rounded young men that have no issues getting in the classroom, have no issues showing up on time, have no issues, putting in that extra time off the court as well. So, yeah, I'm excited for Judah and his development, that he's going to be one of those kids that, this year might not be something that he's going to just jump off the page, but in years to come, I think he's definitely going to be a great player.
I think it's, what I learned about junior college, and this is a terrible example, is Last Chance U, just not the football. Is it was the basketball episode, and then that kind of ended sadly because those poor kids, COVID ended it. My question to and the one, if you watch Last Chance U, he's the most entertaining person on Twitter, is Coach Jason Brown. But once again, that's not here nor there. But what, for somebody like me, I don't know that difference, but what is the difference between even just a community college and like a D2 school?
So it's funny. I've talked to a lot of my former mentors and coaches that are still coaching the junior college. And one of the things that they told me is like, Mark, you're never coming back. I'm like, why do you say that? It's like, because you have upperclassmen, you have older kids. You don't have to deal with a bunch of freshmen and sophomores all the time. What happened to me in junior college, I'd get a bunch of 18 and 19-year-old kids, work with them every single day, just on simple things. Like I said, showing up on time, going to class, getting their things done, putting in the extra work, letting them know that, like, hey, what you're doing right now, if practice is the only time that you prepare, it's not enough. Are you watching film? Are you getting extra shots up? Are you taking care of your body? When I got to Western, I had so many guys that have already gone through that junior college gauntlet and kind of survived it and gotten through it, that now in our very first meeting, our guys are laser focused, locked in. And I'm like, oh, this is nice. These guys, you tell them to do something, they do it. You don't have to coax them into something, because some of the times in junior colleges, you have to coax guys into, hey, if you don't get your grades up, you can't transfer that D1, that D2. If you don't, produce, you're not transferring, because that's usually the number one goal of most junior colleges. Hey, let's come here, spend my 1-2 years, and then transfer out, go on to bigger and better things. Where now that I'm at Western, this is the bigger and better thing. So guys certainly appreciate that. So that's what I think the biggest difference is that I have more experienced guys. I have more mature guys. I have guys that have made it through that first 2 years, that first year, 3 years, whatever you want to call it, that they know what it takes to do an online class. They know what it takes to, show up on time and deal with the rigors of being a college student, that's part of it.
Can you tell the just basketball fan in New Mexico who, obviously I know Ed's kind of touched on it, you have a new team, but those new names, what have you seen during camp? And what do you expect out of your team this year?
I think it's going to be super balanced. I think we might have, 5 double-digit scores, but they're all going to be 11 points a game type thing. I think guys that you should be looking out for is a guy named Cortavius Tavy Seals. I think Tavy from Blackhawk Moline, from the Quad Cities area where I was actually born and my parents met. So, and our lead assistant coach, Jacoby Julian, he kind of pulled him from that area. 6'1" guard, ultra talented scorer, 3-level scorer. He's going to be a guy to watch. Marcus Merchant from Niagara Community College. Niagara was a top 5 team for 3 straight years in junior college. He was their point guard, starting point guard for 3 straight years, led him to back national tournaments. That just a floor general leader. I don't know how well he's going to score the ball, but he's the guy that's going to get us in everything we need to. He's going to push the ball at just an incredible pace because he's so fast with the ball. And obviously, he's extraordinarily talented that he can really, really defend. I think another guy is going to be, a guy named Evan Butts. He's from the Houston area, but originally was at Arizona Western Junior College. Another guy that was a double-digit scorer for 3 straight years, all-conference player for 3 straight years in junior college, because a lot of these guys got benefited by that extra COVID year as well, that some of these guys might be listed as juniors, but they've been in school for 3-4 years. So I think those 3 guys, scoring-wise, offensively, are going to be, off the charts. I think some of our bigs, one of the guys we're not going to have this weekend is a guy named Tanner Vogel. 6'11", almost 7 foot from Australia, can shoot the ball, can score it down low, inside out. Big, strong, athletic kid. Broke his wrist, so he's probably going to be out for about 4 weeks, but he's a guy probably second semester in the spring that you should be paying attention to. And then, guys like Aaron Miller, another guy from Niagara Community College. That was a 3-time all-conference player, 6'6", athletic, slasher, will get out in transition. So, it's one of those things that I might have a different answer for you guys in a month because we have such depth and we have so much unknown of just because you played well at junior college or just because you played well in high school or just because you played well at that previous university, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to play well for us. So I'm excited about, those guys and, definitely a couple more.
Ed, I'm glad you brought this gentleman to our attention. This is been doing this a lot lately, and I've done it a lot through my career. That was one of the best conversations I've ever had. I really appreciate it. He is the new head coach at Western New Mexico. His name is Mark Bunker. I'm going to let you get to the Bulldogs and the Sun Devils now, and I'm glad I didn't call you Joe Dumars or Isaiah.
Hey, we're down 3-0. I don't know.
I'm glad you have it on. I was going to tell you that.
I have it on in the background. I can see it.
Perfect. This was a great conversation, Coach. I wish you the best of luck this season. Maybe we can bug you during the season for 25 minutes, for 15, 20 minutes. We'd love to have you on. But this was a great conversation. Western New Mexico head men's basketball coach, Mark Bunker. Coach, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Ed, I know I'll see you soon.
Yeah,
but thank
Coach,
you.
good luck this weekend. I'll be keeping an eye. Good luck.
All right. Thank you, guys. You guys have a good night.
Take care.
Thank you.